Hello, thank you all for being with us for our regular webinars. We are happy to have you. We're taking on a new topic today, and one that many of you are probably feeling right now, and that is one of agent burnout. It has been a whirlwind of the past 6, 8, 12 months, and I'm sure that with the pandemic and with how busy you've all been, that you're probably feeling like you've had enough, but you can't really stop just yet. So that is why we asked Storm Fletcher, the VP of Business Development for Robbins International, to join us today to just talk about that, because we're hearing from a number of you that you are feeling just overwhelmed and burned out. And Storm always has such good advice for all of us. It's sort of like that mom advice that you have when you come in and you're like, no, here's what you need to do. And it's that sage wisdom that you always come with, Storm. So we're happy to have you.
Thank you. No, excited to be back.
Thank you so much. And are you hearing this as well, that a lot of people are just overwhelmed and they've had enough?
100%. It is everywhere across Canada into the US, and it is all levels. All agents are feeling it 100%.
And so we were speaking a little bit earlier, we're in the midst of it now. When you're swimming halfway across an ocean, you can't stop, but you can learn lessons from it. So should people be doing things now, or is this just, should you be learning lessons?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think learning lessons massively, but the other part is there are things that you can do now. Even though you're halfway in the ocean and the only option you have is to keep on swimming, you can input tactics and strategies in place now to ease some of the anxiety that you have.
All right. Well, please teach us how to do that.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, guys. So who would have ever imagined that this would be our year? Who would have ever imagined that this would be our story? But I think one of the things we have to remind ourselves is, although this last year has been a little bit unprecedented, it's still the ebb and flow of real estate remains the same. It is feast or famine that seems to be the beast. One of the things, and I want to touch on a couple of different things here. Number one, I want to say that I in no way, shape, nor form dismiss the feeling of exhaustion. It is real. It is palatable. We can taste it. So what can we do? I think that the challenge comes, I'm going to speak to challenge first and then solution. So I think the challenge comes is in the way that we are programmed and trained right from the very onset when we step into this beautiful industry. And that is that our success is based on the results that we are producing. And in that vein, right from the get-go, most of us hit the ground running, doing everything that is obtainable. And when we are focused on what is obtainable, it a lot of times leads to burnout. So let me give you an example of obtainable. If you've heard me speak, you may have heard me use this analogy before. Could I lose 60 pounds right now in this moment? Of course I can. Cut my body in half, toss my legs off to the side. I've lost 60 pounds. Is it obtainable? Yes. Is it sustainable? No. I'm dead. And so we have to have that same sort of mentality in our business. So we get burnt out when we're living in a life of what is obtainable. Some of it is unavoidable, but there's other parts that aren't. And so let me give you some examples of where we go when we're looking at what's obtainable. When we are working with a buyer, and I know for so many of us, we have low inventory right now, and man, oh man, most of the time we're in multiple offers and our buyers are not always successful. And when our buyers aren't successful, we don't feel successful. Therefore, we feel like we have to keep upping the game as far as what we're bringing to the table, and we feel exhausted. Okay. I never, ever, ever want to tell anybody not to go for the business when you have the opportunity to go for the business. That's why we're here. We all want to make money. But when we are specifically focused on a result rather than a behavior, it leads to faster, more ferocious burnout. So I want you to think about for a moment, I'm going to use buyers as an example. We're working with a buyer. If we really don't manage expectations up front, if we don't allow for a level of calmness coming from us to them, if we don't educate them well as to what's happening, we end up going on 550 million buyer trips. We end up writing 550 million offers that are not accepted. And we use the words of win or lose. And when we start using the words of win or lose, we create a lot of animosity for ourselves. So I know if there's a property and your buyer wants it, man, you've got to strike fast. You've got to know. But what happens in between is where the burnout takes place. The burnout takes place when we're not managing ourselves, our state, and what we're doing in between. So I always say, number one, what is a small little thing that you can do? When you are in that mode where you are exhausted and you have 20 minutes, and this small little hack, I promise you will make a huge difference in your life. Our lives as well within our organization have been insanely busy, busier than we would have ever expected to be. And so there's times where literally I am up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I do not stop until 8 o'clock at night. And when I say I do not stop, I mean, it's like maybe for 10 or 15 minute intervals. Now, could I do that every day? No. But on the days that I am required to do that because it's needed, I am structured, I am tactical, and I am strategic. And I also make sure that for at least 5 minutes every hour, I go and sit outside, if weather permitting. I maybe will go and listen to a song. I will do something to nurture my state. You see, no matter what's going on in our lives, guys, no matter what's happening in our business, whether we are booming crazy or we're quiet as ever, booming crazy and quiet as ever sometimes create the same anxiety. But we continue to put ourselves on the back burner. There's this word out there, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to hate myself later for using it, but it's self-care. And it's such a clicky word. But what is self-care? Okay, I want you to do an exercise for me, guys. I want you to start monitoring every single time your phone rings and it interrupts something that you're doing and you answer it. And where does it lead to? How many times throughout the day in your business are you reactive when maybe you don't need to be? Let me give you an example. It's also about managing expectation on the other side. So if someone calls and I see a number come up on my phone and I'm in the middle of doing something that is required and it is important. You see, my phone ringing unplanned is urgent. What I'm focused on in this moment is important. And I try very hard not to allow urgent to rule my life. So I will look over, my voicemail will say, and it goes to voicemail. I rarely, if ever, answer my phone unless I'm expecting a call. My voicemail says, you've reached Storm Fletcher with Richard Robbins International. Today is, and I say the date. I will be returning all calls between 12 and 2 and 5 and 7, whatever it is. If this is urgent, please text me at this number. And that is it. Now, you would think that my phone would be blowing up with text messages after that. It's not. Because to remove some of that stress and burnout from my life, I have to self-manage. And I self-manage by making sure I'm clear, concise, and I communicate well. So how often you want to return the calls and what time frame you want. But a lot of times when I listen to people's voicemail, it says, hi, this is Storm Fletcher with Richard Robbins International. Sorry that I missed your call. I promise that I will call you back as soon as possible. Well, my version of as soon as possible and your version of as soon as possible are most likely very different things. And when I don't tell you a time where you can expect me to call you back, I'm creating anxiety for my client that's leaving the message. And if it is truly urgent, they will text me. So let's say my phone rings 15 times and I don't answer it 15 times. And each time my phone rings, they get that same message. Do you know what happens? What happens is I don't get a text. Maybe one a day, because I've given them certainty as to when I'm going to get back to them. And if they really are urgently needing me, I respond immediately. As soon as I see a text come in when my phone has just rang, then I know that this person needs me. It gives me peace of mind and it adds structure. My calendar is completely blocked out. And so what do I mean by that? I use Calendly. It's an app that we use. And Calendly is a link that links to my calendar that I can send to any of my clients to book a call with me. And so I go in because I don't want a client booking a call with me at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't want a client booking a call with me at 8 o'clock at night. I want to make sure that I manage when I am doing calls and when you can speak with me. So what I do is I go in and I time block off in the morning, and I'll have between 8 and 9, 10, my holidays, even though I have no clue where I'm going or if I'm going, are blocked off in my calendar, guys, for the next 5 years. Everything that I do in my life is time blocked in my calendar. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, good for you, Storm. You don't have a client that needs to see a house and it's the 10th time and they absolutely have to get out and they need me. I get it. And I do understand that completely. But I'll tell you something, and I want to challenge you here again for a moment. If someone goes in and tries to book a call with me, and when they're looking to book a call is not available, but there's another option there. Again, I'll use an example. When somebody wants to book a call and they go into my calendar when I send that link, rather than that back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, it also gives the client the perception that they're in control. Oh, I get to book my own time. You would think that they would go in and they'd look at my calendar and go, oh, darn, I was really hoping to speak with you on Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's blocked off in my calendar. It's not available. So they always find an alternative that works. And I can tell you, my business, our business, my relationships are deeper, richer, and better for it. And I don't experience the high level of burnout that I would if I didn't manage my calendar. Because it is also about our mindset. So if I have something that I think, okay, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I want to work out in the morning. And that's a thought I have in my brain. It's a conscious decision I've made. It's something that is really important to me. I want to do it. But if I don't have it scheduled as an appointment with myself in my calendar, and somebody reaches out and says, hey, Storm, are you free to jam at 8 o'clock Friday morning? Yeah, sure. I don't see anything there. That's perfect. And then what ends up happening? I end up going, darn, I booked myself Friday morning and I'm not going to be able to work out. When you see it blocked, it gives you that pause that we all need to go, and you can offer an alternative or you can open it up. When it's in there blocked, you have the control. When your calendar is wide open and you're just being pulled all over the place, you don't have the control. And it massively leads to anxiety and burnout. Guys, there's certain parts of this industry that are always going to be reactive. Always. And right now, in the thick of things, like we were saying, we've already swam. We're in the middle of the ocean. We can't just all of a sudden decide that we're not going to do it. So right now, we just got to keep on swimming and we got to tread. But what lessons are we going to take from this? What are we going to do? You see, there's a saying, and it's from this book, The Road Less Stupid. And you guys have heard me mention this book before. I absolutely love it. The Road Less Stupid by Keith J. Cunningham. I have the audio version as well as the hardcover. The audio version is brilliant because Keith is from Texas and he orates it himself. So it is quite entertaining as well. But in the book, he talks about you cannot see who's naked till the tide goes out. So right now it's busy. We're all swimming. We're all doing everything that we can. just to stay afloat. But ebb and flow in this industry, ebb and flow. And so, what are your greatest pain points? What are you struggling the most with right now? What is the biggest bane in your existence? And what possibly can you put into place to ease that? The challenge comes that when we are this insanely busy, when we're feeling this kind of burnout, and we finally get a reprieve, the last thing we want to think about is our business. The last thing we want to think about is systems or anything else. We just go, whew, man, made it through that one. God, that was insane. That was crazy. Made good money, whatever it may be, but that was really insane. What did I have to sacrifice? How much of myself did I sacrifice to get here? That is our cue and our moment where rather than doing what is obtainable, we can move to putting in things that are sustainable. So when I talked about the calendar, owning your calendar, I hate the word time management. It's self-management. So owning your calendar and what it looks like, controlling how reactive you are. And then from there, where did I get pulled the most? What can I do? How can I automate? Is there a process I can put in place so that that doesn't happen at all or not nearly as often? You see, when we have that pause, and I know you're tired, but you're going to keep coming back to this place of burnout when you're focused on what you can do now. So you must come from a more of an abundant mindset and not a scarcity. I want you to think about something else as well, guys. Our goal, I believe, in this industry should be to be building advocates, to be building cheerleaders, to be building clients who believe in what it is that we do. And that is who we want to focus on. I want you to ask yourself right now, just ask yourself, you don't have to tell anybody, but how many of your past clients that you've worked with over the course of this last 5 years, that you have worked so hard to open those relationships, have you not spoken to or connected with? I would suggest it's probably a lot, because what we're doing is we're focused on now. Whereas if we remove ourselves and back up a little bit, give ourselves that breathing room to focus on and nurture what's important, not what's urgent, then we're not having to run around and chase our tails and burn ourselves out, because we've created a level of predictability in our business from nurturing those relationships that we've already worked so hard to establish. That for me is such a big one. Being clear in your communication, what you can expect, what can happen. I know a lot of you may have heard, especially if you're in BC, the name Darren German. Darren German, he works out of Surrey. He was the president of the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. And if you phone his office or listen to his voicemail, he does this religiously. And the beautiful thing is, guys, his business has done nothing but grow by taking control. He does not answer his phone. He has a very detailed voice message that he creates every day. When he puts in his calendar that he's prospecting, nurturing, whatever it is, those are the appointments with ourselves. Those are the things we're doing for ourselves. It is a non-negotiable. So what are your non-negotiables? What are your things that you're not willing to sacrifice? You see, there's a big difference for me in business and in life of making sacrifices or sacrificing myself. And so what are the things in your life that you're not willing to sacrifice? You see, the challenge in business, and it's a beautiful thing when you realize it, success is not final and failure is not fatal. And so being open to trying different things, being open to build on your success, being open to missing a call, being open to managing your schedule and your life, being open to walk away, being open to take care of yourself. There's another book out, and it's a book called Triggers, and I actually spin that book. The book Triggers, powerful book, again, guys, really worth the read. But it talks about having triggers, and more so in a negative, distracting sense. I have the opposite of that in my life. I have triggers that are complete stress reducers. One of my triggers that if I am in a state of complete burnout, I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot do this another day. I've got a recording of my granddaughter laughing, and it is the most joyful, beautiful belly laugh that you've ever heard in your life. And I play it for myself. It's my own private recording, and it completely alters my state. You see, control is an illusion. We don't have control. And the more we try to control things that are outside of ourselves, the more burnout we're going to experience. The thing that we can manage is our mindset, our health, our state, our time. You said it, time management, self-management. So right now, make hay while the sun shines. We're in the middle of the ocean. We swam halfway out. There's no turning back. But there is a beautiful, beautiful opportunity here. So I want you to start just really writing down, what are the things that pull you away from what it is that you need to do? What systems or structure don't you have in your business right now? What is important to you? Start small. What can you add in that a small little change? The biggest challenge that we have when we're trying to make a shift to avoid getting to the place of burnout is we say, that's it. And we make all-encompassing statements that are not obtainable or not sustainable. So I'll give you an example of that. How do I eat an elephant? I eat an elephant one bite at a time. But if I look at the elephant and I think about eating the whole thing, I'm completely overwhelmed. There's no way that I can do that. The same as, and again, if you've heard me speak, you've heard me say this before, the same as when we're trying to make a lifestyle change, maybe for our health. And maybe we put on a little bit of weight and we want to take off weight. Summer's coming. I want to have a bikini body. Oh God, we're past those years. I want to have a bikini body. And so we go, that's it. I'm never eating sugar again. And then 2 days later, you're driving in your car trying to figure out where to hide the chocolate bar wrapper because it's an all-encompassing, daunting task. When we have success, when we can make a small little change and we hit it, guess what, guys? Endorphins fire off in our brain, and it's dopamine because it's that feeling of success and we want more of it. So set yourself up for that in your business. So example of sugar. I'm never eating sugar again. I'm not going to have sugar on Mondays. And that's it. So Mondays, I don't have sugar. And I do not add or change that until I wake up Monday morning and I don't go, oh, today's no sugar day. When it just becomes an innate part of my life, of what I do and of who I am, then that shift has happened and it's permanent. So then what do? I'll say, you know what? I'm feeling really good. I'm not going to have sugar on Mondays and Tuesdays. And you continue that process. So I'm not saying go in and completely organize your calendar if you're not there yet, because that can seem overwhelming. But what I want you to do right now, as soon as you stop listening to this, I want you to go in and I want you to promise me, but more importantly, I want you to commit to yourself to go in and block off 1 hour, 1 day a week, and just put in me time. I don't care what you put in there, but you're putting it in with commitment. It is a non-frickin' negotiable. And I want you to live into that. And for that time period, I want you to fill it full of things that fill you up. And maybe what fills you up would be sitting on your couch, staring at the TV, drooling on yourself. If that is what it is, that's okay. It doesn't have to be this big, insurmountable Mother Teresa task that you're going to do in that hour. It's small, consistent actions lead to big change. Big change does not cause small, consistent actions. So we can proactively start to shift and then start putting structure in place so that when that pause does come, when we do have that moment of reflection, when we do have the time to sit back and really analyze where we are, we can do it with a certain element of calmness. We are capable of anything. If you tell yourself you can't, or you tell yourself you can, you are right. So what does your future in this business look like? Who do you want to be known as in the business? But more importantly, guys, what do you want your eulogy to say? Yeah, I went there. You've heard this said by so many speakers. I know I certainly have. The very first time that I heard this said, I've got to tell you, I have always been, I love work. I would say that I am a recovering workaholic, and some days I'm recovering really well and other days I relapse horribly. But really, that question when it was asked and in the moment when it came into my life, and I thought, oh, because the speaker said, do you want people to say, yeah, that Storm, she was a really hard worker, man. She worked, 18 hours a day, every day of her life. Is that really how you want to be known? So this is a business that we are running. This is a business. I want you to think about a couple of things. And in your brain right now, I don't want you to think, because I know we do, especially when we're burnt out. Storm, you don't understand. I promise you, I do. But what do you want this to look like for you? What do you want your business to be? Do you really want it to be this, where you are pulled and pushed constantly? And the only way that I personally know to avoid it is having triggers, making sure positive triggers, but with positive triggers, also being aware of my negative triggers. Richard Robbins, my mentor, the owner of our company, and a man that I respect deeply, talks about all of the time that you have to bring balance. You have to have some semblance of what is acceptable in your life. And the only way we know how to do that is by adding structure, adding texture, adding layers, adding systems. Ooh, that curse word. And a certain element of automation. Now, one thing I do know about C21 that I have mad love for is the amount of stuff technologically that you guys have access to that, if leveraged, can really, really help. But your triggers, the way that you think, the way that you feel, the way that you act. And so think about that. If you are thinking, if you are in that state of burnout and exhaustion all of the time, what is that saying to your clients? What is that saying to your family? If you've got nothing left for you, but you don't have to be there. You truly don't. So your things I want you to do, your takeaway, your homework is, as soon as you finish listening, I want you to time block 1 hour once a week. That's it. The same day, every day in a week. So the same time, the same day, every week. That is massively important. Start small. And in that hour, you must make it a non-negotiable. And if that hour for you right now, because you're in the middle of the ocean and you're swimming, and if you stop, you're going to drown, needs to be at 9 o'clock at night, then so be it. But put it there. Do that small act for me. The other thing that I really want you to do, I want you to find a trigger that completely alters your state. Is it a song? Is it someone's voice? Is it a passage out of a book? What is it that when you hear it, when you see it, when you feel it, when you touch it, when you eat it, whatever it is, it alters your state. You feel calm. You feel comforted. You feel like, I've got this. And then really figure out how many times. The other exercise I want you to do, and it won't be easy, but what in life is really easy? Opportunity looks a whole hell of a lot like hard work. But once we implement these strategies into our lives, we can shift and change. And so I want you to start tracking, guys, tracking for me. Every single time your phone rings and you choose to answer, how many times was it a distraction? How many times was it potentially something that could have waited until you had it scheduled to return calls? How many times have you been reactive to a buyer? How many times have you been reactive to a seller? Think about that for a moment. How many times? How many times? How many missed opportunities with the clients that you already have that you could have been loving them up and nurturing them, and potentially 5 deals or 10 deals could have come from there? And also, I want you to think about, what in my life right now am I doing that's obtainable? And if I want to be in this for the long run, how can I shift it to what is sustainable? So I really hope that this was helpful. I know, guys, beyond a shadow of a doubt that what we're in right now is real. And it's easy for me to sit here on the other side of my computer and advise you as to what to do. But I can tell you, I was born into this industry. My daddy retired out of this industry. It is all that I've ever known. And in my 55 years of life, knowing this industry, there is an ebb and there is a flow. It is the nature. And so right now, we're in it. Tide is in. And who has time to change anything? But the tide will go out. So are you going to be caught naked, or are you going to get caught with your clothes on? Think about it. And thank you.
What a way to end. Thank you very much, Storm. As we have noted in the chat, this is a pre-recorded session. So if you have any questions for Storm, please write them in the chat and she will be answering them, and we will do our best to answer them over the next few days. So please write your questions in the chat. We will respond to them as we've been able to get them. So Storm, thank you very much for your time. We always appreciate it. You always give us the reality check that we need in the moment. So I hope that people are sitting there watching it, realizing what they need. It was what they needed to hear today. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. And what I'm going to send to you, if you wanted to share it with your realtors, we have a, much like we're doing for our brokers, we're going to be sending out a monthly update to our realtor network. We're not trying to sell you anything. And it's going to have tools, strategies, and tactics that they can leverage in their business to help deal with mindset, burnout, and all of it. If you're interested in subscribing to that, it's easy to subscribe, easy to unsubscribe if you're not seeing value. If you're interested in that, I will share the link, and you guys can share it with the network should you choose.
Great. We will put that in the chat as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Excellent,
Storm. Thank you as always. It's always nice to see you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care, guys. And remember, it's your life, not somebody else's. So what is it going to look like? You are the director on your own stage. Talk to you soon.
What a great way to end. Thank you so much. We will see you everyone next week. Have a great week. Stay healthy, stay safe. See you soon.
Bye-bye.